Hey guys, John Luxy here. This is going to be a strange video. This is basically how to buy a house. So I am a first-time home buyer. I'm completing the process right now. I'm about 6 days away from closing. Assuming nothing explodes, I will be a homeowner. So I'm making this video basically to give information that I've acquired to other people. It is incredible. It is astonishing. It is flabbergasting how little the average person knows. Talking to all of my coworkers, almost all of them, almost every single one, with the exception of a couple, they all own homes. And talking to them about the process, I mentioned something that was in the contract, and they're like, "Why did you sign that contract?" And I was like, because it's required, it's in there. And they're like, "Well, I wouldn't have signed that, I would have walked away." And I'm like, "Well, it's required by law." And they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't know that, I didn't read the contract, I just signed everything." I'm like, yeah, I could tell. And to be fair, that was my instinct a lot of the time. It's like, I need to do this in order to get the home. I'm just going to sign. But then I was like, no, let me actually read everything. And even if I didn't understand the implication of some of the stuff, I wanted to read everything. So that's why I'm making the videos, because I'm not an expert. I'm a first-time home buyer, but it really does seem like I know more than the majority of people, and that kind of scares me a little bit. And so I'm trying to put out as much information as I can, because if I can help at all, if I can reduce any kind of anxiety, because it is a stressful process, if I can reduce any of that for anyone, mission accomplished. That's what I'm saying. So I have my notes. I have my notes right here. This is going to be the first episode of a series of videos, at least I hope so. I don't know how many videos specifically, probably 7 to 10. Seems like a lot, but there is a lot of stuff. I'm going to go over even the paperwork. If you guys have any requests or anything, I don't know when this video is going to go up. Like I said, as of the recording, I'm about 6 days away from closing, but I do want to go over some of the paperwork and stuff. So if you guys have any questions, any requests, anything like that, leave me a comment. I am pretty good about responding, not immediately. I'm a little bit slow at that, but yeah, I want to go over as much stuff as I can. And so, let me know. Okay, so this is basically the rent versus buy video. I see a lot of stuff about this, talking to people. Everybody's talking about renting versus buying. And the big thing, are you coming up here, Jack? Where are you going? He's behind me. He'll come up here. Give him like 2 minutes. He'll be here. So the majority of people, and I'm going to say this multiple times, the majority of people believe that, okay, give me 30 seconds, I guess. The majority of people think that renting means you are throwing your money away. And that's not true. That's not true. The majority of people are terrible with their money. You are extremely cute, but also hairy, Jack, baby. Yeah, it's not throwing your money away. You need shelter. You need somewhere to live. That is not throwing your money away. I don't care. There's going to be a lot of I wouldn't call them hot takes, but a lot of people are going to disagree with me about some of the contents of this video. If you're one of those people, by the way, leave a comment. I don't mind. I might give you some sass back if you're sassy, but if you're not, if you're cool, we can have a cool conversation. It's totally fine. So if you actually do the numbers, which most people do not, when you buy a home, you throw way more money away on the home itself. Okay, my property taxes are nearly as much as my current rent. Okay, people just look at the mortgages, right? The rent versus buy thing is not really about the money. That is one factor. There are multiple factors. Yes, money is it's a part of it, but it is not the main part. The deciding factor is actually, your needs and priorities. Okay. It is about, oh my gosh, if you heard that like scratching stuff, that's Jack rubbing his face against the microphone. Let me grab him. But it's basically about, it's like freedom and obligations. It's kind of like becoming an adult. When you're a kid, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to be an adult so I could stay up as long as I want and not have to go to bed at 8 o'clock or whatever. I mean, it wasn't that's not how it was in my household, but the typical non-realistic family, I guess, that's how it was. You want to be an adult so you can do all the cool stuff, but as a kid, you don't realize there's obligations that come with that. That's basically home ownership. Okay. There are so many obligations. There is so much stuff you have to pay for. There's all these taxes and fees and maintenance costs and all these other things that you don't really know about. And like I said, most people are terrible with money. They still don't know. Okay. Yes, money is, a thing, but it's basically like, you own a home, you have the freedom to do what you want, but it comes with costs. Everything's a trade-off, right? As far as needs and priorities and stuff, you're looking at, how many kids do you have? Are you about to have another kid? Are you about to get married? Are you getting divorced? Are you moving a lot? Is it related, is it a work thing? In my case, I waited so long to buy a home, partially because of the investment thing. Like with renting, you have way better opportunities to rent. You have a lot more investment power, I would say. But also because I need to live a certain distance from work, and actually just got a new job. Moving was something I considered, and so now I'm doing that. But yeah, so it's not really the finance stuff. We will talk about that later. Maybe this video, maybe a later video, but yeah. So as far as renting goes, if that is something that you can do or want to do, part of the reason I wanted to make this video is because I thought about some of the people that I used to work with as a young lad. I used to work at McDonald's when I was in high school, and I thought about it, and I'm like, man, we were basically making minimum wage, and we were all from broken homes, and they all had an apartment that they were living in. And we're all, like I said, we're all making minimum wage. I was like, would it be more feasible to buy a house? And I kind of ran the numbers on it. I was like, it's not a great, if you're bad with money, it's actually a pretty decent deal. But unfortunately, the people at the bottom tend to be there for a reason. With a lot of that, there was a lot of drama and other factors. Renting is not the disaster that all these house owners claim that it is. But if you are going to rent, you should definitely not be trying to throw your money away, right? You should be getting the smallest apartment that meets the needs that you have. You want to go monk mode if possible, so that you can take that extra cash and funnel it into investments so that you can retire. The goal, you don't just want to be a wage slave forever. You want to actually be able to retire one day, and retire early if that's even feasible. No one knows what the future is going to hold. I personally suspect it's going to get worse. That seems to be the trend for the last 70 years. So, renting is, there is value in renting. I'm not going to say all the people that I talk to, they're like, oh, renting is throwing your money away, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to reveal my power level, but I could have bought my house with cash. That was what renting allowed me to do, because I took all that money and I put it into investments over the past 10 years. And I basically saved it up. And, you know, I'm going to do a video on like kind of the power of video gaming and why it is the most cost effective form of entertainment and how you guys can use that. But if you're not good with money and you have a decent job, you should probably buy a home. But if you don't have a decent job, renting is not terrible. You might be able to get your spending under control. You know, it's something that's possible to do. So yeah, if you're gonna rent, get the smallest ones that meets the needs that you have. That's part of the reason I'm buying a home. I'm tired of having 4 cabinets in my freaking 600 square foot apartment. But you know, if you're gonna buy, I seriously would recommend. No one, like I said, you don't know what the future is. I suspect it's gonna get worse. All these people I see online, they're like, oh, you know, the interest rates are about to come down, blah, 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 blah. Who knows? I expect they're going to go up personally, but I also see plenty of stories about people that are like, oh, I bought this house. It was a starter home, and now we're stuck in it because interest rates went up and blah, 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 blah. It's like, look, buy the best house that you can. That's the most affordable. Don't plan for it to be a starter home. Do not plan for things to change. Do not plan for them to get better. Plan for them to get worse. Plan for this to be your forever home, if whatever home you're buying, okay? Because you never know. And there's plenty of people that are stuck in homes that they hate because they thought they could do better later down the road, and just don't, okay? So if you are in a whatever situation you're in, this is going to sound really stupid. Consider buying a multifamily house or home, whatever. One of these like multi-units, right? Don't necessarily do it. I have so when they talk about the impending housing crash or housing crisis or whatever, like I said, I'm not an expert, but my understanding is they're actually talking about the multifamily homes. A lot of these single family homes are being bought up by foreign investors, right? So those aren't going to crash, okay? But they keep talking about the housing crash. The thing is, all these banks ended up buying a bunch of the multifamily homes because they thought with the Airbnb stuff, they'd be able to control the market. And they are, but a lot of areas are cracking down on the Airbnb stuff, and so these multifamily homes are basically worthless. The banks are over leveraged, right? So now all of a sudden they're going to be like, we're losing money. We need to dump them. At least this is my interpretation of what's going to happen in the future. Maybe it will happen. Maybe it won't. Who knows? It's not ideal, you know, but if you can find a good one, maybe like for a cheap price, maybe it's worth buying. Like I said, you don't want to buy a dump. Don't buy something that's like poorly maintained, that's out of code, that's 70 years old. Because some of the ones I actually looked into this, and all the multifamily homes that I saw, they were either the cheap ones, the ones within my budget, which is not high. They were built in the 1950s and they were poorly maintained. And any sort of, that's something else to consider. Any sort of renovations you do, you need to bring them up to code at that point. So they were terrible, right? They were inner city. They were not good, right? A modern multifamily home was going to cost me something like $1 million. Yeah, I don't have anywhere near that much money. You know, renting let me save a nice little nest egg that sure I could have paid for a house with, but I didn't, by the way. I ended up getting a loan. But yeah, I'm not about to shell out or take on I don't even know if I can take on $1 million worth of debt. That's a lot. It's like buying 4 houses or whatever, right? It's the multifamily homes are usually four units. Yeah, but you could consider it if you find one that's for cheap, you know, that a bank is trying to offload, that's newer, that's in good condition. Maybe that doesn't come with tenants or squatters in it. You could do that. The other thing, and this is really interesting, probably not going to be able to do this if you're not good with money, but you can assume other people's loans. There are clauses for this. Most, and if you're going to do this, you need to be really good at paperwork or have a agent or mortgage broker that is good with paperwork, because most people don't even know you can do this. You can assume other loans. You can search, at least on these realty sites, you know, Zillow, Redfin, whatever. You could do a keyword search, VA loan. Okay. One of the homes I looked at had an assumable VA loan, and you don't need to be a veteran to take over these loans. The catch, though, because right now loans in my area, the average loan is like 7 or 8%. Okay. This loan was for 2.5. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. That will save you, you know, a couple $100,000 in interest over the course of the loan. You know, it's a big deal. But you need to effectively buy out the contract, right? So if they've paid whatever they've paid off, you can get a mortgage on the outstanding debt, but you need to be able to, with cash, purchase whatever equity they have. So if they've already paid $100K onto the house, you need to be able to purchase that $100K. You need a down payment of $100K to take over the loan. It's probably worth it, though. It's probably worth it. I mean, I haven't run the numbers on selling like investments to do that, but it's something to consider. Okay, assuming you can find one and assuming you like it and all that stuff. So let's go into the math a little bit. Because I hear all this talk about home or a house as an investment. It's not. Don't look at it that way. Do not. This is where I'm going to get a lot of hate. I don't care. I will die on this hill. Do not look at homes as an investment. They're an expense. Okay. You need somewhere to live no matter what. You know, whatever, you know, appraisal or not appraisal. They use the word appraise, right? I don't know. I'm losing my mind, but they say houses gain in value. They don't. They don't actually gain in value. I know if you look at the thing, you see the number go up. They're not gaining in value. Just like that gallon of gas that you purchase is not gaining in value. You know, I'm going to use a food analogy here. It's like I've lived long enough to see food granola bars are the ones that I noticed. They got smaller. They went up in price and they got smaller. You know, you get a jar of olives, it has less olives in it. And not only do they charge you the same price, they charge you more, right? So that's inflation. The rise in housing prices, it's not because houses are worth more. They're worth less, actually. It's your dollar. Your dollar is worth less. Yes, I mean, there's supply and demand stuff, so you're going to see the prices fluctuate a bit like that. But if you go on Zillow's great for this, not overall. Zillow's mid. Redfin's pretty good. But if you go, you see the current. Wait, how can I do this? No, that's probably right. You see it going like. Anyway, pretend it's going up. You know, you see it. There you go. You see it going up like this, right? That's inflation. That's not the house actually gaining in value. My parents' house, when they bought it in the 80s, was like 85,000, right? That was also when gas was below $1. Hamburgers were like 30 cents. Okay. Now it's worth like 700,000. I don't know if it's been renovated. You're telling me a 40-year-old house is worth 6 or 7 times as much? No. No, absolutely not. You're telling me that gas that you were to buy for $1 a gallon, now it's $5 a gallon. You think that gas is like 5 times the quality? No. There's ethanol in it now. It's less quality. It's it's trash. Okay. Everyone that says that a house is an investment is wrong. And that's a hot take. Whatever. When you sell it over 30 years. So you don't think of it as inflation, but it's inflation. Okay. Unless you flip the house, unless you buy it and then turn around and sell it for an extra 100 grand, make 100 grand profit that same year, it's inflation. Okay. And just remember, the people that are saying all this stuff, they're terrible with money. Half of people, 50%, have less than $1,000 saved for retirement. People are terrible with money. Okay. Something else I want to talk about just real fast, because let's end the video. I have it marked as my little notes as the myth of equity. It kind of goes into the whole like plan for your home to be a forever home, because I've been going onto the Reddit first time home buyer forums, right? And it's been interesting. There's been a lot of good information too, but also a lot of, it's people comment. And so I've seen a lot of bad information. A lot of people will be like, oh, equity lets you turn around and get a better house the next time when you sell that home. It's like, yes, that's true, right? Because you can only take on so much debt. The bank will only allow you to be, to own so much debt, right? My thing is, sure, you want a nicer home. You want a better home. You want a bigger home. I would like a home that's a freaking castle, like literally a castle. Modernized, of course. But I want the whole thing. I want the drawbridge. I want the freaking portcullis, that, the gate that goes up and down. I want the little thing with the oil that dumps oil on the Christmas carolers. I want that on top. I want all of that. But that's ridiculously expensive. I will never be able to afford that. I will never be able to afford the taxes on that, right? So all these people that are like, oh, yeah, use your equity to get more debt. Like, why would you do that? These are the same people. And this is something that actually happened, by the way. I paid off my car. And people were like, congratulations. You're going to turn that in and get a newer car, right? And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't want another car payment. That's why I paid off the car in the first place, because I don't want a car payment. They didn't really understand. But that's your average person, by the way. Your average person is a debt slave, okay? They will never be able to retire. Like, that's the thing. We are getting to the point. You're not going to, I hope I'm wrong about this, but I would bet money that, we're already seeing it, of course, but during our lifetimes, we're going to see the property taxes increase to the point where people that have homes paid off, right, to where all they need to pay is the property taxes, we're going to see them lose their homes because they can't pay the taxes on them, right? But that's something else also, right? The best argument for owning a home, at least from a financial perspective, is that your rent is fixed, so it won't go up. And then once you pay the house off, your rent drops and all you have to pay is the taxes. The problem with that, though, is that the taxes will continue to go up with inflation, right? So, it's not, it's not great. that, and also, you're just, it's just a really crappy situation overall. It's just not good. Um, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't recommend money or considering a house as an investment. Just in general. I was gonna say something else. I don't remember. Um, it's part of like the rent versus buying stuff. I don't know. I had it in my notes and then I deleted it and I was like, I don't need to talk about that. But I remembered it now and I was like, oh yeah, I should mention it. But well, whatever. I guess the other only thing, like, this is kind of a general video. I mean, it's mostly geared for should you even buy a home, should you rent, should you buy, whatever. But the whole, should I pay off my mortgage first? Uh, the answer is yes, by the way. So I haven't done all the math. I'm not going to, but it's like if you have an extra $1,000 a month to either invest or pay off your rent, like I said, I haven't done all the math. It seems to me, even if the interest rates are the same, even if the interest rate on your home loan is lower, pay that off first, because you're getting the interest rate on, if you invest it, you're getting the interest rate off the $1,000 per month that you invest, right? Excuse me. Wow, geez. Excuse me. You're gaining interest on that $1,000 a month, like a little bit at a time, as opposed to your home loan, which is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're accruing interest on right now. Okay. Paying that off because you're getting interest on the full amount. Maybe, and math nerds or whoever can figure out all this stuff, but especially at the beginning, if you're going towards the principal, like, we're not even talking about amortization where the bank basically screws you because they know some people are going to default and some people are also going to pay off their loans early to save on interest. And so they front load the interest payments, right? So your payments, if you haven't heard of amortization, it's funny. It's funny, right? It's basically, they calculate the lifetime of your loan and they're like, okay, so you're going to pay this much in interest. Therefore, your total that you pay is this. And so when you give us your monthly payment, we're going to take 80% of that and we're going to pay ourselves the interest first. And then we're going to take that other 20% and put it towards the principal. So you're still effectively paying that full interest rate on the principal first. Like, it's not really reducing your interest over time. It is but not really at first. They're really screwing you. So if you are going to pay that, make sure, at least the advice that I've seen is make a note that be like pay to principal or something like that. This is when people actually use checks. That's what I remember. I don't know if you could still do that when you're paying online. I would imagine you could leave a note, pay to principal, and then you can see, right? Because you presumably get statements or something like that. And if they're not going to the principal, you're like, hey, this needs to go to the principal, So I don't know. That's basically the video for today. I was hoping it to be shorter, hoping for it to be shorter, but it's fine as it is. Like I said, I appreciate your guys' time. I appreciate your guys' attention. Thank you so much. Any questions, comments, concerns, good, better, and different, let me hear them. About 40% of the comments that people leave are memory hold. So I can't do anything about that. That's YouTube being a dick. But if I do see it, I will read it. I read all comments and I try and respond to all comments as well, even if they're unfriendly. Although if they're unfriendly, I might give you some sass back, like I said. But seriously, if you do have a comment, leave one. I'm going to try and get to all of them. If you have suggestions as to stuff, that's the other thing. Like, I'm a micro channel. I'm a super tiny channel. No one relatively, I was going to say no one watches my videos, but people do. But relatively few people watch my videos. And so if you leave a comment, it's going to get, I would hope it gets seen by other people. And so you could actually leave valid information that other people could see, as opposed to bigger videos where it's just like, I love your video, lol. I agree with everything you said. Or whatever, all the spam comments and stuff. I don't get as many of those. So that is something. But yeah, leave a comment. I will try and respond if it's really great. If I'm like, oh, I should do a video about that as well. I do have somewhat of a plan. I'm going to go through the whole process. At least that's my thought. I'm going to go over some of the paperwork, and I'm going to kind of tell you about my experience, because the seller's agent was trying to play a bunch of games and stuff like that. And so I think it's really interesting. You know, it makes for good stories, I think. So, but that's basically it for today. And I hope to see you guys next time. Till then, guys, take care.